What's up? I'm Colton Lindsay, financially free by the age of 32. Today, my team's got some videos by Hormozi set up. I'm going to watch them. I've never seen them before. I'm going to give you my real-time reaction. So follow along with me. Let's go.
I'm trying to get my wife to go where I want to go to dinner. Because I want to go to Cheesecake Factory, the finest establishment in the land. If I say, hey, babe, you want to go to Cheesecake Factory? She might.
If I said this to my lady, she'd be like, are you freaking crazy? Cheesecake Factory sucks.
She might be like, well, no, I don't want to go to Cheesecake Factory. Or like, I'm not really sure. Now, if I switched that and I said, babe, would you be against going to Cheesecake Factory? You're like, well, I'm not against going to Cheesecake Factory. And I'm like, great, let's go. That's the beauty of a no-base.
Notice, though, what he did is, would you be against it? When she said, I'm not against it, he then closed and led, say, all right, let's go. You got to lead them through the wormhole, baby.
See how different it's phrased? And if I say, hey, you excited to move forward today? That's a yes, right? It's harder to get someone to say, yes, I'm excited to move forward today. Would you be opposed to moving forward at the end of the conversation? No.
What he's saying is do opposite of. Would you be opposed to that? I don't know if this is for you, but would you be opposed to this?
No, I'm not opposed to moving forward. Great. And we get the sale. The psychology.
Notice he says afterwards, great, let's move forward. I think this is really important to watch.
Behind this is that people feel safer saying no. People
write that down. People feel safer saying no. Yes, they do, because they're in protection mode. They don't want to be sold something. They don't want to be swindled into anything.
People feel like they retain their autonomy. They feel like they're at ease, especially like you think about decision fatigue. At the end of the day, people don't want to be responsible for anything. They don't feel vulnerable to saying yes and agreeing to something, right? Instead, they prefer to say no and stay safe. But if you phrase your questions,
notice that, hey, would you be against hopping on a meeting with me on Thursday? No, I wouldn't. Great, let's do it. They're saying, no, I wouldn't be afraid of that, which means they will be willing to hop on. I love this.
You can get people to say yes by saying no, which is one of the most powerful sales tactics.
That's awesome. Completely agree. This is a great material, and this is what's called as neurolinguistics, and it's something you do with people. It's a language pattern that helps them feel better.
Sales guys come up to me and they're like, dude, I got 25 grand, I'm feeling pretty good, so I'm just like curious, what kind of investments should I be getting into? Cryptos.
Number one investment you should be making is cash flow management. Write this book down, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. You should not be investing into real estate, Bitcoin, stocks and equities, gold and silver, cash, any of that until you learn to manage your cash flow that you do have. Second, invest into proximity. Invest into getting into a peer group and a mentorship space where you can compress time and you can change your behaviors to accelerate your psychology of wealth. You're your most important asset. Then, once you do that, you can move into increasing the literacy. You can use OptiMax protection, which is infinite banking whole life policy. Then you can move into getting your business entities organized correctly. Then the next step is get your tax-free wealth developed. Only when you get to stage 6, what I call the 7 steps to financial freedom. Step 6 is all about investing into 15 different asset classes. See what he says.
Right now, and it drives me nuts because I'm pretty sure I didn't have any money in my bank account at any time until I had $1 million in my bank account within a couple months. The reason for that was because my belief is that you should spend all of the money that you have to acquire skills until...
That's proximity. That's mentorship. That's behaviors. That's compressing time to increase the value in you, your best asset. That's you, man. Or gal.
Until you can't spend money on acquiring skills anymore. And you can pretty much always spend money to acquire skills. You just do it differently. And so like the higher up you go, now I have to make donations to charities in hundreds and millions of dollars in order to get access to the boards of these charities who are other dudes who can donate hundreds of thousands and millions.
That's pretty lit because I'm not doing hundreds of millions of dollars yet, but I can tell you that giving to charities is where you can get some level of proximity. I wouldn't do that right away. Go pay for a mentorship program. Go get into a live event. Go through a course. Keep spending. I keep giving Tony $100,000 a year so that I can be in proximity with people that are doing way more than me. I'm talking 400 million, $1 billion in net worth. I want to be in that circle so I can learn how to implement that quicker.
Hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars to those charities so that I can then see what they know so that I can learn faster.
Notice that. It's so you can learn faster and apply faster. I love it. Spot on. I love Mr. Hormozi.
sales tactic that has directly made over $35 million. One day, I'd sold a bunch of people into a new program that was starting, and I was probably like 15 orientations deep, and I just had no after no. And finally, I was sitting down, and this nice lady
Nothing sucks worse than getting told no 15 times in a row, but we all have to go there.
and she had like a nice ring and a nice purse. She sits down. I remember getting to the end of the presentation, and I just said, hey, so with the program, you want chocolate or vanilla for your protein? And she was like, which one do you like? I was like, chocolate. She was like, all right, I'll take one of those. For the pre-workout, do you want to do kiwi or strawberry? I like the kiwi. She was like, okay, I'll do that one. So I said, do you want to just use the cards you have on file? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And then I took these off the shelf and I slid them over to her. She grabbed them and she smiled and she walked out of the facility, and I made my first supplement sale. And I was like, holy I didn't even talk at all about what these even did. I just simply asked her which one she wanted. And the key was, I didn't ask her whether she wanted them. I asked her which one she wanted. That is when I was introduced to the assumed close.
What he's talking about is presuppositions. A presupposition presupposes the thing that you're talking about. So he already was presupposing she's going to buy. You could do this with appointment setting. I've done it for years. Hey, do early afternoons or later afternoons work better for you to meet with me? Look, dude, I'm already assuming you're going to meet with me, which is better, early or later afternoon. I never say evening. I never say morning. Why? Because I don't want to meet in the morning or the evening. I want to meet in the afternoon. Presuppositions are very powerful in the neuro-linguistic programming, if you learn that model, to work with people.
If I was making $75,000 a year and I was deciding how much I should allocate towards my education, it would be 100% of everything beyond my living expenses. It depends on what my age is, if I was married, if I had kids, etc. But I would be living on ramen because I would want as much of that money to get me.
He'd be living on ramen, and he is ripped AF.
Get me out of making $75,000 a year into making $200,000 a year, $1 million a year. Here's what's crazy is you can buy the skills that make you $1 million a year for like 50 grand, and people just don't know it. You will pay.
Think about that. If you invest in the skills that make you more money, you'll make more money quickly. Now, I don't completely agree with investing all beyond my living expenses into that education because I believe in what's called cash flow management. Two great resources is Profit First, number one, but an even more simple version is from the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. It's a New York Times bestseller by T. Harv Eker. And one of the things he teaches you is to put roughly 10% of your revenue aside in your proximity or education. He also teaches 10 to 20% in your financial freedom account. The reason why I believe this is important, it is a behavior issue. This isn't for me about becoming a billionaire, although I believe I will be one before I die. This is more about, can I get my time freedom back very, very quickly? And I know a proven system. Now, I'm saying that Alex Hormozi's isn't very successful because look at him. He's a super successful dude, successful relationship, and what he is saying works really, really well. I just believe that you have a management system in place, and that we can agree on, and part of that is investing in you, yourself, your greatest asset.
I think income taxes should be like as close to zero as possible, and then make the capital gains taxes higher. If you make with your hands, awesome. If you make on your assets, that has infinite leverage with time. So if you trade the most expensive thing for your money, then I feel like you should get taxed less than if you trade no time for your money.
What do you think would happen if it was 100% death tax?
I think that billionaires would become far more giving. And as they approach the end, they know they can't keep it. And I also think it would change the way the game is played. But if you were to imagine life as a poker game, you get a chip and then you sit down at the table and you're
100% death tax is just insane. I don't think it's going to happen.
Cards, right? And there's all the other players around the table. And depending on the cards you're dealt and the skill you have, you begin to amass chips. The difference between this fictitious casino and the casino of life is that in the real world, you can amass chips, you cash out, you have a big wad of money, and you walk out the door. But in the casino of life, when the Grim Reaper taps you and tells you it's time, you have to get up from the table. Your chips stay on the table, and they push them to the middle to be distributed by everybody else. Like, that's when you realize that it was a fake game with rules that never mattered to begin with.
Never mattered. Now, that sounds like coming from a person that doesn't have children. I really appreciate Alex Hormozi. But I want you to think about this. What if when you started this physical game of life, you had an extra $10 million in the bank? Would you have a leg up? Not only that, what if it was your own bank where you had to go give a business proposal, you had to have a business plan or an education plan presented to the board of loan people inside of the bank? This is called the Loan Advisory Board, and they lent you money. What if you had access to go get lending to $10 million right away? Well, you can do that. That's called infinite banking and generational wealth. Difference is the Rockefellers versus the Vanderbilts. A really great book is called What Would the Rockefellers Do? The Vanderbilts blew their entire fortune within 50-something years, but the Rockefellers still keep growing today because of one simple concept is they put insurance policies, guaranteed life insurance policies on all of the members of the family. And when those people pass, which you're talking about will happen 100% of the time, like Alex said, is then that money goes into the family trust. In essence, it's the family business, and it is the bank of where, now we would imagine, if you could go get a loan for $10 million or have access to $10 million, you got $1 million of it, or even 100,000 of it to go launch a business or do whatever, how much further ahead would you be? What if you could create that for your children and your grandchildren? So I do think that the game doesn't end with your death. If you think about the way eternal families happen, you think about life before and after death, and that we've always existed, and that your family lineage is extremely important for the opportunity to carry that good fortune forward to serve more people. This is really, when I look at it, what it's all about is, can we change the trajectory of our family lineage in such a way that its growth and its contribution give your next generation a leg up by doing this wisely.
It looks like to get in the top 1%, in order for you to get to above $5 million, so not even top 1%, top 0.3%, you got to save like 15 grand a year for 30 years. That's it. And that's assuming just 9% returns, which is just the stock.
Very, very simple to do, by the way.
How do I save $1,200 a month? Most times you're going to want to have to sell something. Either you're selling someone else's product or you're selling your own product. When I say product, I mean product, service, whatever. Either one.
Get that. You're selling your product or you're selling someone else's product is the quickest way to exchange value and have capital come into you to where you can put money aside in your financial freedom account.
When I say product, I mean product, service, whatever. Either one of those categories. And if you make $100,000 a year and you live on 30, you can do this. I really believe anyone can do it.
That's only making $100,000 a year. You can really do more than that with time. There's no reason why you can't get to $1 million a year.
To live on a lot less than you make. Now, if part of you is like, well, then what's the point of living? It really depends on what you value. You can either have your ego and how you...
Depends on what you value, and you get to choose your values. Values are the driving force for the direction of your vehicle, which is your life as the entity.
Either have your ego and how you look to everyone, or you can have your ego based on the freedom that you feel. And so the moral of the story is getting into the top 1% is literally a matter of saving $1,500 a month and putting in the S&P 500. That's it. And the thing is it's so simple, no one will do it. And that's okay. But
what if you could accelerate that? That's what I want you to consider. Robert Kiyosaki, he's the one that famously taught the cash flow quadrant. What if you could actually create a business where it's income coming to you, whether you start in someone else's business, selling, you eventually create your own business, but what if you can skyrocket that revenue so you're taking a bigger percentage, meaning more than $1,500 per month, more than $1,500 a month, and you're taking more chips off the table and putting it into investment vehicles. And now you want to think about, what if you went more than 9%? What if you got 22%, which you can do in real estate all day long? What if you got 112%, which you can do very consistently in the stock market if you do asymmetrical investing? What if you could do quadruple rate of return, which you absolutely can do through resourcefulness in collaboration with other businesses and other partners? Your business is your cash generating machine. Take money off the table, put it into your I quadrant, which is your investor quadrant. Investment is simply a lump sum payment for a future income that pays you over and over again. Now, I love this video. I completely agree with what he's talking about. My only thing to you is I think he's talking and speaking so more masses can get on board with the idea of $100,000, live off 30, invest the rest. But what if you could accelerate that $100,000 to a higher number more quickly in your life? You'll get even more financially free in your journey. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Make sure to go ahead and drop your comments down below because I want to see what you think about my reactions to Alex Hormozi and what he had to say as well. And click that like button, share it to your friends so they can see this as well. We'll see you soon.